Hey there, Chad here. Thanks for joining me. This is Aurora 4X, and we are still on our first turn, very first turn in the game. I know we're a couple of episodes in. You'd think we might be a little further along, but there is a lot to know in this game, and it has such a learning curve. I want to make sure we're covering a lot of the basics up front so that I don't just gloss over them. What we did in the last episode, we effectively finished getting things kind of conditioned to get the game started. We added a governor. We added an academy commandant. We also put in our first industrial build, which is going to be a second military academy. And we learned how to use this particular screen to manipulate that. What we're going to do today is we're going to work on the shipyard a little bit, and we're going to work on research. Part of doing research is going to be reorganizing our scientists into categories that make sense for us. Unfortunately, in this game generation, I got a pretty bad break on the random number generator. I don't have a lot of really solid scientists just yet. Kind of hamstrung just a little bit. In fact, we don't even have a lot of scientists. I've had games where I start with 6 power and propulsion people, and while they're not always great, usually there's one that's a rock star and the rest really aren't, we at least have bodies. We don't even have bodies here. And on top of that, while Jeffrey here is listed under biology and genetics, we assigned him as the Academy Commandant. He technically isn't able to do research for us right now. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Let's start there in reorging our commanders, specifically our scientists. Now, I've opened all these windows. Yours will definitely be different. Every game is different. And what you'll see is some of these don't have anybody. Missiles doesn't have a scientist assigned. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to be doing missiles for quite a while. Construction and production, I absolutely need somebody right now. So what I'm going to do is come over here and select scientists. I want somebody with a high number of research admin, and we're also going to ask for their research ability. And these are the folks that I want to mostly focus on. And I want to look at where they're at and then where I can move them to. And that's kind of going to be our main decision maker. So what I'm seeing here right now is we have Kesha and Lloyd, who are both on defensive systems. They have the most labs available, 20 and 30, and they both have a 15%. Our 20s only have 5 labs available. And while that's not horrible, 5 is the minimum, basically. You can research with just 1 lab, but they can do no more than 5, and that is the lowest value I've seen. I don't think I've seen anything below that. We need to have folks that can do research, and we need to get started pretty quickly with it. I'm going to assign Kesha to either construction or power, and I'm going to assign Lloyd to either construction or power. One will go into each slot. I'm just trying to decide which way I want to do it. The thing is, the construction, it's the first one we're going to do. We're going to research TransNewtonian technology. We can actually look at it over here. This is the research window. And if we come in here and go to construction, TransNewtonian technology, it requires 5,000 research points to complete. That's going to take more than a year for us to accomplish. So I have 2 options. I can go with the person who has a higher percentage and will maintain a higher percentage, and also I can go with the person who has more research labs or the person who has less research labs. The other one that we do use a whole lot initially, at least I do, is power and propulsion. And unfortunately, Jude has a 5 for research admin. Jude is probably not going to be the person to run most of our power and propulsion projects. We will use them now and again, and even if we don't use them, these numbers can adjust. There's ability for them to improve in various categories. You'll see a lot of these people get much, much better at what they do. But for early game, it's just not very useful for us. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to move Kesha to engines because we have a lot of research we do there initially. So I'm gonna highlight her here. Actually, either one is fine. This was mostly so I could see a lot of these values all at once. But we're going to select Kesha, and then we're going to say change field. That's going to open. First of all, it says, are you sure you want to do this? They lose 75% of their bonus. Yes, I know that. She's going to go down to like a 3. So we're going to say yes, maybe a 4. I don't remember exactly. And we want to assign her to power and propulsion. Well, it turns out that's the top one on the list. It's because it goes in this order. And we're going to say, okay. And it's going to toss her in there. And now you see she's here at 4%. So she's at the bottom of the list because she has the lowest bonus, but she actually has the most research strength because of her admin ability of being able to run 30 labs at once. And we will end up using her for that reason. The second one was Lloyd Detmer. Lloyd can do 20 stations, and he's at a 15%. Well, we need him in construction. He's going to be the first one to pull off a big project for us. We're going to click Lloyd, and we're going to say change field. Are you sure? Yep, he's going to drop to 4% as well. For him, we're going to move him to construction. Construction and production. There we go. And we say okay. And as you can see, we now have somebody in construction and production. We do eventually want somebody in ground combat. I'm going to move Roland. Roland will maintain a 5%. He loses 75% of 20, so he'll hold on to 5 points. I'm going to move him in there because he only has 10 labs, but a lot of the initial ground combat research will go really, really quickly. And so that'll be just fine. We're going to move him. So change field, yes. Ground combat. Is it ground combat? Yep, it's the bottom one there. Ground combat and okay. And then let's see what else we have. So we have power and propulsion. Henry is a 5. They're a 10. So we'll be using Zella more than Henry there, but I think that'll be okay for now. We really only have 1 or 2 major researches initially for them. And honestly, we don't have a lot of options. So we could move Sandra up. She will continue to have no bonus, but she'd be able to do twice as many stations as Zella. That's one possibility. On the other hand, the direct fire weapons, yeah, we won't be researching those for a while. So that's definitely a possibility. Missiles, we don't really need right now. We do need some logistics. So maybe we're going to move her over to logistics. She won't have a bonus, but she'll have a lot of research labs. So let's move Sandra over to logistics. I'm really hoping your game is a little easier on you for this perspective. And I know that just hearing me say these things isn't terribly helpful. The long and short of it is to do research in power and propulsion, you want a power and propulsion person. They can have a 0% bonus. They can have a 90% bonus. I don't know what the limit is. I know it'll go up to at least 50. They can have 5 research labs. They can have 35 research labs. It really affects how long it takes them to research. And you just have to figure out that balance for yourself. What you don't want to do is use the construction guy to do missiles, because that is a significant penalty in the game. It takes 4 times longer for that particular research to happen. That's my understanding anyway. We won't be using biology, but Jeffrey is our commandant. We won't be using, well, missiles. We said that. Direct fire, not for a while. The rest of them we need somebody in, but the ones you want to be strongest in, I believe, power and propulsion, construction, little bit of logistics. We will hit defense early, but there's like 3 projects we're going to do, and then that's it. And then for quite a while, we won't use biology for a very long time. Ground combat, we will sprinkle that in where we can. Okay, so at this point, we have assigned our researchers to departments, but we haven't actually assigned any research. So let's go do that. That'll be the first thing of 2 major milestones we accomplished today. We're going to assign some research. This is our research screen. Up here are all the research projects that are currently happening. As you can see, there are none. Down here, we have the list of departments. In each department, we have the technologies that can be researched, how much points need to be spent to make that happen. And then we have some various buttons, and we'll learn about those here in a minute. A couple of other things to know. There is a completed button. When you click completed, it will show you the things that have already been researched. Now, there may not be anything just yet. I feel like there might be like one that's already sometimes pending or something. Actually, we can do this a lot easier. Yeah, there we go. So logistics, they already have passenger accommodation researched. It was very cheap. You start the game with it, basically. So you can change the view here, down here with these radio buttons. And that might be the only one. Yep, that's it. So that's the only thing that's already been done. We'll go back to available. You're almost always looking at this in available. And we want to go to construction and production. The very first thing we're going to do is TransNewtonian technology. We want to do TransNewtonian technology, and Lloyd is our big dude. He's the only scientist available. Here's that button, by the way, matching scientists only. If I uncheck that, it's literally going to list everybody who's available. That's everybody who could do a project right now. But if I don't choose somebody in construction, my understanding is it's a significant 4 times penalty. So we want to do our best to keep somebody there. We're going to go with Lloyd. One other thing I do want to comment on, generally the bonus is less important than the maximum labs if you're able to use all the labs. If you only have 3 labs available, obviously bonus is going to be better for you than max labs. Right now we have 24 labs available, and so we're going to be just fine. Now you'll notice when we click Lloyd, this number changes to 20 because this number is 20. It can't go above that. We can assign, there are 24 labs to be assigned right now. They're available. We can only assign 20. If we wanted to do less than that, we could type in 14, and that would be fine. It would do it because it's less than that, and it's less than his max. But that's one thing that would be a possibility. There's another way to change that number, and it's the way I tend to change it. I think it's a little more efficient and easier for me to kind of think through. But what we want to do is select TransNewtonian, and we're going to select the lead scientist. That's going to be Lloyd, and we're going to say Create Project. And we're done. It popped it up here. So Lloyd has a 16% bonus mod. That's partly because of his bonus, partly because of the Academy Commandant. And we can also see that he produces in this situation with 20 labs, he's going to produce 2,300 points a year. So it's going to take him more than 2 years to complete this. It's going to be the end of February in 2 years before this is completed. So we got a little bit of game time to go. The good news is game time goes really quick when you want it to. At least it can. We'll come back to that in a minute, but we have 4 unassigned labs right now, research facilities. Well, we want to absolutely use those. We have a few different options. As I said, power and propulsion is always super important, and we are going to want to adjust this minimum engine power and things like that, but we don't need to do it today. I think a good one to start with, because we won't need it for a while, but it'll get it knocked out. We're going to go with defense systems, and we're going to do conventional composite armor. This is the first step. When we complete it, another research branch will open up, and then another, I say research branch, I mean a technology, my apologies. So advanced composite armor will open up, and then the next one will open up. And we can kick through a couple of those while we're waiting on this. Now, it's only going to be 4 labs. Well, this person can do 10 labs, and they have a 10% bonus. So we're going to assign him. You'll notice this changed to 4 because it's all that's available. And we'll say Create Project. And it jumped right up there. And as you can see, we're using 20 labs here and 4 labs there. Now, if we wanted to adjust those numbers a little bit, by the way, this will be done in less than 6 months. If we wanted to adjust these numbers, when you click on them, you get this row. We can completely cancel a project. I don't really know what pause does. I haven't seen where that was a real factor. I need to look at that a little more, I think. I haven't used it much. I tried to use it. It didn't do what I thought it would, or at least, yeah, that might be on me. We can cancel the project right here. It'll say, are you sure? Yep, we're sure. And it removed it. We can toss it right back in there. There's no cost for doing that. Back to 4. The other thing that I use, and this is what I do a lot, remove RL. What that is remove research lab. So Lloyd has 20 assigned to him right now. We can just click this a few times and it removed them. I just removed 5, clicked it 5 times. I could then go over to this guy and add him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now he's up to 9 labs. That is how I tend to manipulate it. I assign everything possible, and then I'll manipulate it with this and then assign whatever's next. So we want to get back to Lloyd having everything he can use. By the way, you'll notice by removing those 5 labs, it pushed it back from February to November for when that'll complete. Yeah, there you have it. Okay, one other thing we can do here. Let's go back to construction. We're not going to do this now, but I want you to know how this part works. We can queue things up so that once TransNewtonian technology is done, the next thing will automatically start researching. And I can do that a couple of ways. I can say, actually, that's not entirely accurate. It has to be something that's on this list already from a department perspective. So construction and production or defensive systems. And I'm going to go to construction. And we're going to say, and we will delete this, but just to demonstrate it, we want to increase the maximum orbital mining diameter to 125 kilometers. That means something important in the game, but we don't need to know about it right now. To queue this up, what I do, you would maybe think you just hit add to queue, but you don't, because you could be researching with more than one scientist inside of construction and production. What we do is we click the technology we want next, we click on the person that we want to do it next, and then we say add to queue, and it will put it in the research queue. As soon as he is done with this, he will apply his 20 labs and start working on that one. Okay, now unfortunately, we'll kill that one out. It's now gone. As I said, if we go to propulsion, which we're going to want to do a lot with propulsion, we can't add that one and queue it up because there's no labs to assign. If we try to queue it, it says at least one research facility must be assigned. And we can't assign one, so we can't add it, and we also can't queue it because it would have to be one of these. Now, you could queue it to a scientist that isn't in your department, but you don't want to do that. That will go very, very slowly. You'll notice his bonus, not only does his bonus drop, but it'll take an entire year to do this one. Yeah, well, maybe it isn't going to be that much slower. I don't know. I believe there's a 4-time factor that's mentioned a couple of times. I could be off on that. Nonetheless, try to use the researchers aligned with your project is what you really want to do. Okay, we're done with research. One other thing we're going to do in this episode is look at the shipyards. There's a couple of things we're going to want to do there early game. We're going to go to the shipyards. Basically, we were there. I didn't need to close the research. We were on research right here, and we just needed to move 2 to the left to shipyards. We start the game with 2 shipyards. One is a naval shipyard, and one is a commercial shipyard. The naval one is much smaller, and that's most of what you need to know there. I like to rename these, and I like to give them names that make sense. I'm going to name the top one to Newport News Shipyards. That's a Navy contractor. And then I'm going to rename this one to Bath Iron Works. It's also a Navy ship constructor, but they do a lot of commercial ships as well. Newport News does a lot of warships. Okay, so I've renamed them. That was really super simple, right? That step 1 done. And then as I add new ones, I'll give them names that make sense to me. I know this is military. I know this is commercial, and that's fantastic. What we do next, we can currently, just so you know, what this means is we can build a ship up to 1,000 tons. We have one slipway to build ships in, so we can build one ship at a time. Currently, one of those is available. We're not building any ships. There's no current assigned class, and there's no activity happening in the shipyard right now. We're going to change that for now. We don't have any ships to build yet, but we can do a couple of things. And one is we want to add a slipway because we want to be able to build more than one ship at once. So I'm going to say add slipway. We're on Newport News, add slipway, set activity. Boom. You'll notice this now says add slipway, and it's going to take exactly a year. It's going to take it a year to build that slipway. We're going to do the same for Bath. Now, I already had selected this here, so when I click this one, it stays. That's nice, and I just have to hit set activity again, and there we go. Add slipway. Those are ready to go. I'm looking through my list here. That is all of the first turn stuff that I really feel you have to get done. So now let's learn about advancing time. Yes, it's that time. We're going to move on from January. And the way this game works, it is turn-based, and the turns are variable in length. Each turn can be anywhere from 5 seconds to 30 days. You get to pick. And literally, we're just going to click on here, and we're going to click 5. I'm going to do 5-day increments right now. We can change it at any time, but I want to go with 5. That was interesting. Okay, you can see how long ago something happened, I guess, kind of. Well, now they're gone for good. I don't know. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be telling me. You can zoom in and out on the map. You can come way in here and you can find specific meteors and asteroids and stuff. Here's Eros. If we go find, what is this, Mars? Is this Mars orbit? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Yeah, there it is. Here's Mars. If we center Mars and we zoom in, what we should eventually see is the Martian system, which will include, there we go, Deimos and Phobos. That's its moons. So we're zoomed super tight on Mars here. You don't even see them at, this level here. And that was like 5 more clicks out. This is the entire system. One thing that's really important to know is distance is important. And to measure distance, you literally left click. But while you're left clicking, you hold down Shift. And it will show you how far things are apart. That's 22 billion kilometers. Just to give it some scale, 22 billion kilometers. If you were to start in the relative center, so at the sun, and go out to the max, you're talking 11, 12, 10 and a half. And of course, the mouse doesn't like to cooperate with where it positions itself, but that's a little over 9. That's almost 10. That is 10. So that is a way to measure distance quickly. It becomes important because we have range that our ships can travel. And you'll want to know, well, what's that really look like? We're going to send out survey ships, and we want the survey ships to be able to move hundreds of billions of kilometers, because bouncing between all of those places, it adds up pretty quickly. The entire, if they go end to end, it's 21 billion roughly. But as they bounce back and forth between these, they'll be eating up a lot of that mileage, and we will need to, do you say kilometerage? I don't think you do. They'll be eating up a lot of that distance, though, and it's something to pay attention to. Okay, well, we don't have any ships that are going to be moving around the map just yet. So what we'll do is we'll zoom in on Earth. And just real quick, here's Jupiter, for instance, all of its moons. There you go. And each one of those is a location that can be surveyed. Okay, so this is us, and you'll notice Earth has 2 circles, not just one, and that's important. What that inner circle means, you'll notice it never stays put. The white circle there means that Earth has been geologically explored. That's what it means. Anything that is not circled white has not been explored, and I believe one of these settings turns that on and off for you. I'm not sure I want to dig through here to find it right now, but just so you're aware, that's kind of what is going on there. You can turn certain things on and off. If we come out here, we could turn off all the asteroids. We could turn off all the comets. There are these things called jump points. We don't have any yet. Actually, technically we do. There's a jump point right there. Holy cow. It's a Lagrange point. We're not going to be talking about those. I haven't used Lagrange points yet. We won't be talking about them for a while, but my understanding is these can be used to quickly move between 2 places inside of a system. So it's almost like a gateway, wherever the other end of it would be, you'll pop out over here kind of thing. Way beyond what we want to look at right now. A couple of other things to note, though. You'll see these things that say SL and a number, and they're circles. I think there's 32 of those, and they're in concentric rings around the system. So here we have SL1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 being down there. Then the outer ring will start with 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, around 18. And then the outer one will be 20 through, is it just 30? Oh, 19 through 30. Maybe it is just 30. I thought it was 32 or 34, but nonetheless, those are survey locations where eventually we'll go to look for gateways to other systems. That's what those are. We can turn those on and off here too. somewhere. I'm just not seeing it right now. Survey locations. There we go. We can turn those off. I don't have a need to turn them off right now, so I'm going to leave them on. We don't have any wrecks. We don't have any life pods. You can turn off the names of things like the comets or the asteroids just to clean things up a little bit. That's actually not horrible. I hadn't done that yet. I don't mind having moon names. They're not even visible at this level. So that's kind of how you control this map a little bit. There's a lot of other information up here. You'll notice these are different tabs. Contacts, we don't have any contacts. That would be enemies. Minerals, well, we know what's on Earth because Earth has been surveyed. Nothing else has minerals yet because we haven't found them. Min text is the mineral text, and it basically just lists it out in a window for the entire system. You can right-click it and copy it because it's just a Windows app. So there you go. Artifacts, we won't run into those for a while. Survey sites, again, nope. You can change a few things here with miscellaneous. I haven't messed with this at all, but be aware that that's there if you really need to. Enter theme, then select male and female. And okay, you can add files for like names of people and stuff if you choose. I think that's what this is talking about. Haven't created any waypoints yet to know how that works. Our military, haven't really used that tab at all. In the, let's see, body info, that one is kind of important. We had last selected Luna, which is the moon, and it tells us some things about Luna, is what this will do. So as we click on other bodies, it will tell us a little bit about them. So if we click on this one, you have to be very precise, actually. There we go. That's Aten. It's an asteroid. And yeah, it's right here. It's pretty close to Earth right now. We could turn on, using display, we could turn on its orbit. Here it is. We just turned them all on. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to turn on the selected one. When you click it, there we go. So we can see its orbit. It's pretty Earth-like, actually. Pretty similar. But its size is remarkably small. It's 2 kilometers in diameter. So there you have it. All bodies that we know of, you can go through here. And I don't know if it, I don't think it, well, it does have asteroids and comets, doesn't it? Yep. There you go. So you can quick jump to anything that you want to select. We would go to Luna potentially. And there's this guy. Body info, another asteroid, 2 kilometers. And let's see what his orbit looks like just for fun. Doesn't even show up. So there you have it. Okay, enough about that. I do feel like there was one other thing to note there, but it is escaping me right now. We've talked through the slipway building. We have talked through setting our industry. We have done research. We're going to advance a turn. Okay, and that's why I wanted to kind of come into this view. With this button off, when I click this, oh, we've already done it. I wasn't even paying attention. Every time I clicked up here, we advanced time. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, so if I were to click 5 seconds many times, you'll notice the time up here is changing by 5 seconds. We're not really seeing anything here because they are, it's too minute of a move to see anything. But if we click 5 days, everything jumps a little bit. Those are 5-day increments. 5 days just passed is what we did. So again, every time I clicked each of these, we advanced time. That's why I was getting different messages. I don't know what I was thinking. I knew that. For whatever reason, yeah, that just completely blanked out on me. This is what happens when you're still a beginner, I guess. But know that that's what was going on there. Every time we clicked these, we were advancing time. Now, that feels really painful, right? I don't want to click 5 and then click 5 and then click 5. What we can do is highlight this button and it will automatically run until it encounters something that the system feels is important. In our case, the first important thing that's going to happen is those slipways are going to be completed. Actually, that's not true. In June, we should see our first research project complete, which will be the composite armor. So we're going to go ahead and say 5 days. I didn't actually click at that time. And we're going to turn this on. And when I click 5, what will happen is things will jump around in 5-day increments until we have an event of note. Now, there will be events popping up here. You'll see it kind of flash by potentially. We don't need to worry about that. It will stop when it gets to something that it feels it needs to stop the system for. Here we go. There you go. And as you see, we went from March to June 16th. And look at that. A science team led by Yasinto Zion working on Earth has completed research into conventional composite armor. Outstanding. We've completed our first research. If we go look at the star here and we look through here, you'll notice that some of these have already been awarded. 30 years of service to 2 members, 10 years of service to 73 members. And we should see scientific contribution, 1 for scientific contribution to the Federation. They completed a research project. That's what I love about the medals. If we go and look at Yasinto in the commander's window, he is a scientist. He is on defensive systems. Here he is. He has his ribbon. There's his ribbon. And when you highlight it, when it's auto-assigned, it tells you the subtext of the ribbon. If you manually assign a ribbon, if you award it, you have to type in what you want it to say, but that's what it'll say when you roll over it. So there you have it. One of the things I have done just for fun is we have Jeffrey here. He's the head of the academy. He doesn't have any ribbons. I can go to award ribbon and I can come in here and find something that makes sense. I have a bunch of different ones that I generated. He's not in expeditionaries, but he is meritorious achievement, but not commanding a fleet. We'd want to find one that makes sense. We could do scientific contribution. I mean, that makes sense. Exemplary behavior over consecutive years of service, preparing infrastructure. Anyway, you get the idea. We could find one of these that makes sense. We could click it and assign it to him, and he would then have a ribbon of his own. There are a few that I have in here that are kind of, prize package-ish that you just kind of could assign. And I'm just not seeing any right now, but we'll come back to that another time when it makes more sense. So that is Joffrey and Yasinto, who completed a project for us. Now, if we go back to research, guess what? We have 4 research labs available again. Well, that makes sense, right? Because he was using 4 and now he's done. We could try to find something else to research, and there are plenty of things we could do. In fact, let's go to sensors. One of the things we're going to want to research, that's right, it won't show up until the TransNewtonian stuff is done, so never mind. We're not going to want to do that. I think what I would research second then is probably defensive systems again, conventional advanced armor. You'll notice it's only 375 points. It'll be Yasinto again. He has 1 research project completed. He'll use his 4 labs that are available to him. We'll create that project. And this one he's going to finish next February. Okay, so he's got a little bit longer this time because it takes more points. So there you have it. And anything else we need to note here? If we go and look here, you'll notice this is the event log. So the June entry is right here, June 16th. Right here, and here's the research completed and medal awarded. He received a medal for completing that project because he completed his first project. Here we got a new naval officer. I don't see where we got any new scientists yet. This list does kind of stay a little short. It only goes back a certain number of days, and it has a maximum number of entries. I like to bump this up to half a year, just so I have it available to me. And then you'll notice it goes back quite a bit further. Here is where all those 10-year, 20-year, and 30-year awards got made right here. And that was probably January. Yeah, first week of January is when it did those. So that's what that huge block is. And you'll notice it didn't stop the system when we did that. And I'm pretty happy about that. It didn't flood us with the information anyway. Okay, let's see. Commander health. This commander, Melinda Bushway, has developed a significant medical problem that will affect his. It does always gender to he, unfortunately. I think Melinda would probably be a she, almost certainly, at least in the U.S. They're currently unassigned, but they have a health problem now. And they'll show up a little different in the commander menu. We could have them retire. There's all sorts of things we could do there. Then we had new ground force officer. We're really interested in new scientists. There's one right there. And his specialty, power and propulsion, 1510. that is a guy that is going to get used. That guy will get used. And just to prove that out, here we go. This is the guy we added, right? The Kesha. She's at the bottom with her percentage, but she has the most labs available. But now we have this guy who has a better percentage and half as many labs, which isn't amazing, but it's decent. He'll be a good second researcher is what that is going to tell me. Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot of basics here. The next step would be to effectively advance until January when the slipways are done. Let's go ahead and do that. So we'll do 5 days and we can watch Earth go around. There we go. We're at the beginning of the year. Slipway added to Newport News Shipyards. Slipway added to Bath Iron Works. So that work is completed. We're going to do one more thing today. We're going to tell it to begin overhauling the shipyards a little bit. Here we go. And what I'm going to do this time, so we now have 2 slipways in each. We can build 2 ships at a time. We're going to select Newport, and we're going to come down here, and we're going to say continual capacity upgrade. We want to increase Newport News to 30,000 tons of capacity. It's currently at 1,000. We want it to get to 30,000. We're going to type that in and we're going to hit set activity. Boom. It's now at continuous capacity upgrade, 30,000 tons. What this will do is as time passes, this number will slowly grow. And that's an important factor to note. So it doesn't have to wait till it gets to 30 for it all to apply. It'll just apply it each day or month or whatever the increment is that it would apply it at. It'll toss new numbers in there. We're going to do the same word Bath, but we're going to use a different number. And the other thing I want to point out here is you can also do add 500 tons capacity, add 10,000 tons capacity. You can use that. If you do, it doesn't advance until it is complete. So if I click this add 10,000 capacity, this will eventually get to 20,000, but it will stay at 10,000 until that happens. So it's probably better to use continual capacity because if for whatever reason you need to change what it's doing, you won't have lost any of what it had done already. And so we're going to say for that, we're going to say 200,000. That sounds huge. It is, but some of our freighters are going to be ginormous. And so we'll say set. Now we do spend money to do this. That's something to note and some resources, but this is all manageable so far. We're not outside of our budget or anything like that. Okay. So we've made it to January. Let's go ahead and call this one here. In the next one, we will see our second research subject, the advanced composite armor. We'll see that complete, and we'll probably get to where we can start looking at the TransNewtonians and what that's going to mean. That'll be another year into the game, but that'll be okay. So we are now in January of 51. We started in January of 50. We've completed a year. Thank you for joining me. This is Aurora 4X. It's a free game available from the developer, and you can just do a quick, simple search for it. You should be able to find it pretty quickly. Beyond that, I want to thank you for your time, and until next time, fair travels.